but I would say, if we're talking about the concussive blast, right, I really feel like for Nart, the idea is he wants to match the clear speed of the Grok plus the Farsa in the mid lane, try to give the Loyi a little bit more pressure to play with, and also, as we can see here, just get the better clear against Keyboy.
Yeah. So Turtle's up here. Actually, they're both teams getting in position.
Penalty zone, gonna be able to lock 2 members down. Joe, though, will be able to get a taunt down onto Albert. Now with the Tempest of Blades, still able to get out, gets the Blades, and will be able to just dash towards the Turtle once again. Nart, no Divine Judgment just yet, still level 3. That's gonna be keeping with the power of nature, just holding it down. Wild Charge as well. Albert securing Turtle number 1 for Indonesia. Sans, there's a bit of damage to Nart. We'll have to respect Nart here. He's about to get that level 4. It turns out, no, he's actually still quite far.
Yeah, he's got a little more time to go here. You saw that too in that exchange. That CW first item was the Sky Piercer. He picked that up. So definitely want to play around at this first item. Yeah, there it is right there. It does get the level 1 boots as well. So with this, I mean, what we just saw too, Albert being able to go in and get that kill, swoop on out, get the turtle, is good for them because he's sitting on a double kill on a Ling. Like, this is the best case scenario you can be on with a hero like Ling, and we know it's a signature on that. So it's up for Vietnam to kind of stop this from getting out of hand, and that's where Nart comes in at this point. You know, and I think it's going to be a little bit tricky on being able to catch Albert. So it might just be finding the target that you can. Oh, here they go.
But Wild Charge on a Nart right into the Defiant Blades, and that's going to be a killing spree that Albert picks up. Now on the signature Ling, jumps in with the Finch Poise onto Fugo with the Tempest of Blades as well. Gets the knock up, and that's the damage coming in from the Feathered Airstrike from Sans in the mid lane to take Fugo down. Indonesia 4-1.
4-1. 3 kills on Albert. He picked up the Berserker's Fury as well, so he's in full snowball material right now, snowball mode. They're already, what, 3,000 gold ahead with that, and so this early portion of the game, 4 minutes in, they're setting their eyes on possibly a quick game. You can see the idea from Vietnam here on the top lane trying to make a play, but Keyboy is going to spot that out perfectly fine, there to help CW in this exchange if it does break out. And that's what I'm saying. It's so hard because for Vietnam, really the play this entire time is just on Nart. There's not much else that they can do, really, if you think about the initiations, because even with Fugo, he has to, once again, decide on where he wants to put that diversion. It is crucial. He's got good, you know, good damage, especially with the passive with Loyi, drops down a rotation, that second skill, but it's still difficult for them, because even that, Yandere needs time on the Claude. You know, in comparison to Brody, he just picks up the Corrosive Scythe for the Claude. And when you're going against a CW here, it's tough to deal with that damage. So now with this turtle up here, Vietnam gets in position once again.
The penalty zone again, lock Joe down. Miwa on the back. It's going to be the slam pass on Albert, but he gets the Tempest of Blaze now. Goes straight for the turtle, but actually misses out on the Retribution. Still able to get the last tick in as Lutpi does some damage to the Joe. Able to dodge away from the Appraisers. Rat dealing some damage back and actually taking a kill without actually dying as well here. In the bot side of the map, Lutpi outplaying Zhao and the other 2 members. And it seems for Sans, he's really just going to be staying there in the vicinity. Fugo pops into diversion now with the dispersion as well. Up top, CW getting a lot of those stacks down. Oh, last hit, turn up our memory, and no, the Sky Piercer cannot take him down just yet, but Albert will, right with the Finch Poise and the Defiant Blade. Fugo going to be caught under the turret with the Feather Airstrike, dodging with the Flicker as Nart walks up together now. Doesn't have the Divine Judgment to really lock anyone down, and Lutpi will just be munching on these stacks from Glue, getting all the sustain he needs, and pushing Hehe back again. He just respawned, he just rotated back towards that bot side of the map, and he's already forced down to so low.
My goodness, what a fight. Albert going to clean up another kill. 5-0-1 already here in Indonesia, very dominant.
Again with the Tempest of Blaze, Nart will not be able to survive that one, and now with the Finch Poise, he gets out as well. Yandere trying to go for the Blazing Duet, but a Feather Airstrike deals with Fugo with one last shot from CW2. Indonesia on a roll in this match against Vietnam.
Tapi kemarin bagus sih.
Hey man, like I said, it's tough to catch Albert. He's 6-0-2. He did pick up that Sky Piercer just last item, so you know we didn't get to see it proc for CW, but for Albert now they have to watch out for both. Vietnam in a very tough situation to be in because you're seeing them really struggling because everything is being thrown at them at different directions, and that's the tough part about it. And like you mentioned earlier in that turtle fight, Loopy has been on point with these penalty zones, man. Whether it's with the flicker or not, the combination is there. Yandere,
whoa,
in trouble.
Buset, Sans yang
Prediction
ngerti
too on
loh.
the battle mirror image there by
Pede loh dia
Suns.
ke kiri loh.
Flies in, throws it at the battle mirror image. That's the Suns we know.
Dia predik ke
Yeah.
BMI-nya.
Again, you know, kind of dealing with this whole 360 lineup, I would say, from Indonesia, from Vietnam. Their head has to constantly be on a swivel, trying to find out where Indonesia is coming from. And even with this, they're going to use the diversion. So they find their own placements. Let's see if they can do it.
Nart with the flicker on Divine Judgment, but now cancel out with the wild charge. CW going to be taken down, but they're all going to be stuck in the clump zone. And now the feather airstrike deals them damage with together as Albert and Lutfi swing their hammer. Albert will be able to walk in towards the turtle, getting it down. The Finch poised to re-engage on the Joe, who gets a 3-man taunt, but they're all hitting. They're all taking him down, and his HP bar will not be able to handle that much pressure. Now with one member left standing, running towards the wrong side of the map. It seems for Indonesia, they'll be able to pick up this kill as they say to
So they get him there, and this is just devastating, Mirka. I mean, we're talking 8 minutes in, 10,000 gold ahead for Indonesia, and it looks like Albert just so confident that he's gonna go ahead and take this purple away.
Almost getting Fugo, now getting knocked up, so there's a cancel there. Good save by Joe in the bottom lane. Wild charge right into CW with the smooch now, and he doesn't even need to commit a torn apart memory. Just a few basic attacks is enough with the help of that wild charge.
Okay, like I was saying, this.
Loh. Kenapa bisa nge-lag, Cok? Loh. Bang.
Enough with the help of that wild. Enough with the
Lah,
help of
emang
that
dari
wild
ininya, Cok,
charge.
nge-lag.
Okay, like I was saying, this.
Emang dari kan? Rusak. Loh. Rusak kan?
Enough with the help of that wild charge.
Okay, like I was saying, this is a massive lead right now for Indonesia, and looks like they actually want to just possibly.
Enough with the help of that wild charge.
Okay, like I was saying, this is a massive lead right now for Indonesia, and looks like they actually want to just possibly
Udah
start
bagus.
on these base turrets even before that Lord comes up. It was not a good usage of the diversion. You called it. They used it. They went to the bush in the mid lane, and then they were left to their devices for the rest of the team, and it all just got collapsed on. Like I was saying, man, it's a 360 lineup. You don't know where Indonesia's coming from. So now that they get this Lord here, that could possibly be the Lord. I know it is only the first one, but this could be the Lord that Indonesia uses to end the game early on. We saw both these teams go for 10 to 13-minute games in their previous matchup off stream. Sans?
Loh.
Gonna be caught, doesn't have the flicker, and will be taken down. Sans with the signature overextension as well, right as they get the Lord. And it will be Sans who gets taken out here. Albert picks up a BOD, 12-0-4.
Jeez. That's also just war cry. Like, I don't know. Are you sold on the war cry now? Like, do you think it's a pretty good emblem to pick up here?
Linknya pakai war cry.
I've got to say that the war cry is really good, especially considering, on the lane, when you use the Tempest of Blades. Even before that, I think, just when you use the Finch Poise and then Divine Blades into the front, you already get the proc. So it's very easy on lane.
Oh, man.
Sans,
3 members? SPA, 3 members having the Sky Piercer. Even Sans wants a part of this, and so they're gonna deal with that. This is very tough for Vietnam, not only being down nearly 13,000 gold, now working against the SPA, the Sky Pierce abuse. And so Lord makes its way top side. Vietnam on the defense. Indonesia looks to go in with conceal.
Penalty zone, locking 2 members down. Keyboy still holding on to that wild charge right now. Sans is able to pop the weeds by wings. The Divine Judgment, the lock loop down to the back line right now. That's going to be sort of taken out. Indonesia still going for this fight. With the slam and the pass combo to the front. And Joe will be able to get the taunt down onto Albert. And now is very, very low. Will still be able to escape with the split. As Vietnam get rid of the Lord. But now another wave comes into that mid lane with the bottom lane as well. It seems for Indonesia, they'll just have to be satisfied with one base turret.
That's all they get. I'm actually surprised that is all they get in the exchange, given how far ahead Indonesia is right now, and even with the 3 Sky Piercers. But I think it's also just a form of discipline that they're showing for Indonesia right now. With the lead that they have, they probably could have punched it in even further. Hold on.
Loh,
Yobi
Kiboy-nya
with
yang
the
ambil.
winner crown
Dobrak.
actually gets up to Divine Judgment. The Tornado Memory takes him
nahan,
out
Kiboy,
with the help
nahan,
of the
Kiboy.
Feather
Lihat,
Airstrike.
lihat,
Now as
lihat,
Albert
Kiboy.
goes in towards the
Lihat, Kiboy.
back, is very, very low. Needs to be careful. Goes out, escapes. Joe goes in, and that's going to be the double kill secured by Sans. As now it's going to be Hehe
Albert,
running away with the
atas.
split.
Albert,
Another
bisa
chase
kah?
down up
Buset.
top with the Finch Poison. Albert will be able to get
Bisa,
rid of
Cok.
Joe
Albert,
up top. Now another 1v1 as it's
hampir,
going to be
Cok.
Yandere who tries his best to take Albert down, but he's a bit
Albert
too
buat
slippery.
ini ya.
Still with the Finch Poison,
Buat endless apa
escaping.
Haskell
Another
dia?
Feather Airstrike onto Yandere. One last shot should do it with the Sky Piercer, but he's unable to get that final
Ini karena
hit.
apa, Lord,
Still, Hehe and Yandere trying to go against the defense of
Udah
five
sih,
members
NC.
sieging down their base.
Albert tuh.
Albert will just dash towards the back, go for it right now, and they're gonna go for a few more kills,
game
a few
pertama.
more hits onto the Vietnam members before they ultimately secure game number 1.
Baru gue mau main Valo sebenarnya ini, cuman gue liat, loh,
Decisive game here
udah
from
main. Gua kira
Indonesia,
sorean
man.
lagi.
12,000 gold ahead. It took them a little bit longer than what I thought because with that first Lord push, I was actually expecting Indonesia to end it there with how far
Ini agak
ahead they
lama lagi
were,
game kedua ini.
and then 3 Sky Piercers. But you know,
Tapi
for
udah gua
Vietnam,
ganti,
there's
ya.
a lot. I feel like that their lineup just was
udah
not
Vietnam
able
ini.
to hang with the pressure, the speed
Ngapain ini?
that Indonesia was at for this one.
Lama juga
And like I
ngobrolnya
was saying
soalnya.
before we went into the matchup here, Mirko, I was like, you know what? There is like Vietnam's playstyle looks like it would be able to be
Beda sih,
similar
beda
at least
dengan
matchup
SRGC
against
mainnya.
Indonesia. This game was different though because
Very
the
different.
lineup is a little bit slower, you know, and like when you look at Indonesia's lineup, and even if you just see a Ling, like you know the idea is to snowball, and I mean anytime an assassin gets picked up, like that's the general idea. But then they paired it up with Sans on the Farsa, and they had a Brody. So I mean the Brody takes a little bit longer, but traditionally I would say Brody is like he's like a 2-item marksman. Like once you have probably 2 items, you're already actually quite a bit of a threat in comparison to the Claude, for example,
dulu,
where
guys.
you need
Yeah.
many more items, you
Match
need a
dua.
lot more time.
Kita
But
tunggu
you know,
match
late
dua nih.
game, it's again, it's not up to CW just to pump out all the damage because of the fact that you have a Ling and a Farsa already that covers so much damage potential
Prediksi
from
gue ini
start to
Onyx
mid game,
masih
and that's what we saw here as we take a look at the highlights, right?
nyoba-nyoba di
Albert
turnamen gitu.
came out swinging
Nyoba di
is an
turnamen,
understatement.
nge-fetch
The guy
nya.
was just everywhere that he needed to be.
Kalau kayak
He ends
gini
up
bagus
eventually
harusnya.
just snowballing
Nah,
out
terus
of
dicoba di
control
turnamen,
on
emang
this
bagus
Ling.
apa
So
enggak?
for all you Albert fans that wanted to see him play this
Baru
Ling, now you
di-improve
get to
lagi
see it on
mainnya,
stream,
gitu.
and man, was it a dominating game. And also, that was just in part to the amazing setup potential from Loopy and Keyboy as usual. These guys got all the sets, as you see from the wild charge, that they needed.
Cuman Keyboy
Really
pakai
good
Grok
usage
juga ya.
of just even the Guardian's Barrier a lot of times to make it even more difficult like that
Dua.
to get out of, you know, any of these aggressive
Lumayan,
plays from
masih
Indonesia early on.
seperti
Again,
biasa
this
ya,
is only 3
Albert
minutes
pakai
to the
Ling,
5-minute mark.
lumayan.
And this, you know, the setups that Keyboy and Loopy were doing, like look at Loopy. He's going 1v3 for the most part.
Loopy.
Takes out a kill
Mahal, bro.
and stays alive. That's why Terizla right now I feel like is probably going to be maybe the #1 pick for the XP lane.
Lama
if
lagi
not the
ngobrolnya ya.
second
Gue
pick,
jadi ngantuk,
because
Cok.
he's just massive right now, and I don't know if it's just, you know, some of the changes with the items, but just Terizla was great before, and now he's even better. And so teams are definitely going to have to look out for that.
Habis ini,
With this, again, like I said, it just took too long for Vietnam's lineup to really like
Habis
pull together
ini.
in a game that is against its
Oh, udah
time
nggak ada
that
Indonesia.
they're both after, but with different timings and power
Myanmar
spikes.
versus
Indonesia just knew
Philippines.
theirs, which was really in the early game. And even this fight, man, they just get smashed here, and
Ya,
great
nggak ada.
placements time and time again from Sans with the feathered airstrike, able to find the right targets even on the BMI. Really
nggak
well
ada hari
placed
ini ya.
on finding that.
Berarti habis ini
And
gue
you
bisa
know, at this point,
live
like I
yang lain
said,
dulu. kali.
it's in full
Bentar malam
snowball
baru
territory.
Mobile Legends, guys, ya, kayak biasa.
Really just trying to run away, but he gets taken out here, and there wasn't much he could do on the glue. I didn't feel the impact of the glue at all in this game, just because of the fact that it got way too out of control. Where you're the tanky guy. You know, you and Fredrin are the ones that are supposed to go and start some of these fights or get to the back line, but how can you when you're getting blown up like this? And we're talking
Main
about
Onyx
Sky Piercer as well.
meningkat,
It wasn't
cuman meningkat
Sky
dikit,
Piercer
guys.
was the first item for CW.
Tapi nggak apa-apa sih yang
But that was pretty
meningkat
much
sih.
it. You know, it took
Ini
Albert
musuhnya
picked it up, I
yang
think, second or
emang
third item,
nggak
and then Sans gets it later on.
disiplin kemarin.
So for the most part, these tanky
Tuh.
heroes, you
Kurang
couldn't
emang
really
musuhnya
use
nih.
them the way they needed to be in comparison to Loopy and Keyboard.
meningkat,
You know, they
cuman
had
nggak
way more
meningkat
value
banyak,
out of the tanks they had because they just scaled up
Lebih
better too
rapi
and
dikit lah.
quicker with the snowball that they had. So for Vietnam, with a lineup like this, they definitely need to cover more
Ini yang paling
grounds
kelihatan
in terms of
musuhnya
that early
nggak
game.
sesusah
There's a
kemarin
lot
sih,
here for
jujur.
them for that late game.
Lihat cara
And we see
gerakannya
this
aja.
once again. This was interesting because they forced this fight and a good response from Keyboy to go ahead and collapse down and start this all up. But, you know, in the mid lane, this is, where they diversion out of here? No, that was earlier. So, you know, again, team fight after team fight, you can already see massive leads for Indonesia and for Vietnam,
Iya, sih,
not
kayaknya Onyx
able
lagi-
to withstand
Onyx
that pressure, that
atau Indonesia ini
momentum
lagi coba,
that was
guys.
built
Lagi
up
coba
here.
new patch
You still got to
di
you know,
turnamen,
you
ya,
got
bukan-
to see all the team
nyoba-nyoba
fights that
biasa,
unfolded
kan.
between them,
Karena
but
kalau udah nyoba-
MVP is
kalau
probably going to
nyoba
be
biasa tuh
Albert.
udah di
You know,
screen
on this
pun
lane,
udah kayaknya.
I don't know if you
Ini
agree with
cuma
that
nyoba
or
di
change it,
turnamennya
but here, let's go ahead and look at it.
Albert,
Yeah, player of the match,
13.05.
MVP for match
Nah,
number
kan?
1,
Haskell.
Albert.
Karena tadi nambah darahnya kenceng, guys,
0
deras.
and 5.
Nambah darahnya.
This is
Kalian
a
juga kritikal
nearly,
kan?
I would say, every Ling of players' dream to have a game like this, especially when you get the
Skypiercer
snowball like
pedangnya
crazy.
kayak pedang lance ya,
For
cuman
sure.
warna
I think, you
hijau
know,
aja
Albert
sih.
being the MVP here is a
pedang
no-brainer.
lance
He was
hero ya.
13-0-5. He took the game to his own hands. I think after the first 3 kills that he got in the game, and around the Turtles as well, he was perfect, securing every single neutral objective on the Ling. You'd expect him to get 3 kills early, but I don't think you would expect him to out-retrade, to outtake the Fredgen on the neutral
Yang
objectives,
mau
especially
bubar dulu
considering
boleh,
there's a
yang
Kaja on the
nonton
enemy
yang
team.
lain dulu boleh, guys.
But I do want to talk a little bit about that Kaja pick nice.
Karena
So
belum mulai juga,
definitely
belum
did
mulai
feel
guys
like
ini.
there were a lot of
Mau
there
tinggal
were too many targets
boleh.
to go for. Kinda.
Yeah.
Like you said, right, in the draft, the Kaja could go for Sans, could go for CW over Albert. And again, maybe that the fact that, you know, you could go for all these members makes it so that it's just very, very confusing for him. He doesn't know who to go for in the
Kayaknya
end.
lagi nyoba
and
assassin ya?
They have had those countermeasures. I think after a while of trying to go for Albert but not being able to catch Albert, after a while of going for
kemarin
Sans and
berapa
not being
lama sih?
able to go for Sans, he
Ada
decided to go for
15
CW.
menit kayaknya deh.
And he was able to get that, I think, in the second turtle, around the second turtle. Good divine judgment with a flicker to catch CW, but then that's why we saw the adjustment from CW. Instead of the normal Wind of
Ngantuk-ngantuk.
Nature or
Siapa
a
yang
Rose Gold
ngantuk?
Meteor, he decided to
Sore-sore,
go for the
siang-siang
Winter
gini, guys.
Crown. That is now adaptive attack.
Gue
So
kadang
yeah,
ngantuk
you
sih
can
kalau-
still
kalau
get the
nonton-nonton
value
kayak
out of
gini
that
sih.
adaptive attack to
Ngantuk
go for
biasanya, guys.
physical, and while simultaneously also getting that suppression down, getting an untargetable item used up so that he can actually escape from the Divine Judgment. And that's actually what we get to see. Because he popped into Winter Crown and Nard popped, tapped on the Divine Judgment. The Divine Judgment went to Lupi, I think it was.
Maksudnya?
And very, very good baits, very good adjustment from Team Indonesia in this game throughout, up against that Kaja. After some of the successes that we saw from the Kaja, it responded to it almost instantaneously, right? So maybe something like a Kaja with the Loi, it doesn't work as well anymore. Because we were already talking about, you know, how we are doubting the Loi pick. We're doubting how prio Loi is in this meta. With the chip too, to be fair. But the chip did get banned. The Loi didn't, and maybe that's why they didn't ban it. Maybe that's why now they're actually banning the Roger over the Loi. You're so limited now on the Loi. It just feels like that creative diversion is no longer creative. It becomes super easy to read. And even if you pull off 1-2 good diversion plays, you know, send the Kaja back. Once you do that, and if you don't get the big play,
bisa lebih cepat.
You're done, right? The diversion is going to be out for such a long time. And I think for the Loi as well, at this point, maybe we might see like a fleeting time Loi. Maybe they might like try to go for some additional cooldown on that big ultimate. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the Loi has been getting a lot of success. Sans tried to pull it off yesterday. Didn't work out. Now today, it's Vietnam who tried to pull off the Loi, and it still didn't work out.
Times are changing, and like I said, it's good.
I hate Loi.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's good. For me, I'm happy with the way things have shifted. I'm glad that at least the mid lane, for the most part too, even looking at some of the off-stream games, there's still good variations for mid lane. I mean, like yesterday we even saw the mid Jerizla, which threw me off, right? But yeah, I think there's still a lot of good variation and flexibility that can happen in the mid lane. And for the longest time, it was just, you know, Loi Novaria, and maybe, you know, a different hero here and there. But so far, I think even from, you know, the African qualifiers, now here for Asian, we've seen a good mix of different heroes in the mid lane, and it's refreshing. I think Loi had her moments in her time, and she can definitely still fit in some compositions. It's just she's not as
ngerti bahasa
OP
Inggris
now because of the way that diversion works, and you really have to be careful in using that. So, and I think it's a good thing you pointed it out, like the combination of Luoyi with the Kaja.
ngerti lah.
And this, you lack. I mean, you lack the damage because, for one, Luoyi, we know she can actually do pretty decent damage early with her passive and everything, and dropping, you know, rotations and getting those the yin and yang combinations off. But the problem with this is, like you said, at some point, especially when the Radiant armor started to come online, you know, it's you lose so much damage in comparison to a Farsa combination. Like Farsa alone, her damage is pretty good throughout the entirety of the game. And I couldn't recall on exactly the build path that Sans went, but I love the magic items right now. Like I love the fact too that even with the glowing wand, you know, it has that built-in necklace of Durant's passive now in it. You have the wishing lantern, which we got a glimpse of yesterday. But you know, there's still a lot of the same paths that some of these heroes are taking, and it's just for Luoyi to be most effective, you need to be utilizing the utility she brings to a team. And so far, it seems like that was the biggest hit she took, was the fact that she could use that diversion that way. So I think teams will slowly start to feel this. They'll really like adjust to it. And this opens up more room for diversity in the mid lane anyways. I know we also still see a lot of Lilia pop up, which still is a great hero to put there. We actually saw some Gourds pop up here throughout the tournament. So I think, you know, overall, the next shakeup we need to see happen is also the XP lane. I was saying before the patch that I love the XP lane because we did see quite a diverse range of heroes picked up. But man, to be honest, so far for IESF, it's been the Yuzhongs and the Terizlas. And that's about it. There's been a couple, maybe here or there changes, but I think you're seeing just how strong the XP lane heroes are that are commonly picked up, which is Yuzhong and Terizla, and it's still the same though. Like I would still say it's still XP lane is probably still the most impactful lane for me right now, unless we get to a situation where it's like the assassin jungles just kind of get out of control with like this new patch. I'm not sure if it'll get to that point though.
I think there's a case to be made for the jungle though, right? Because I mean, looking at the links that we've been seeing, the Rogers as well, even to a certain point, to a certain extent, the Bakshas as well. The fact that you're able to dictate the game so early on, maybe the jungle could take the role back of the most impactful role in MOBB. For the longest time, it has always. I think it's gotta be like what, M3, maybe M3, around M3, and then M4 we still saw like a few junglers taking the game into their own hands, but I mean like Kyrie. But after that, really, the jungle became a retry only kind of lane, retry only kind of role, where you're there specifically to go for retries, to Lord Dance, and that's it. And I love the change.
That retry.
Exactly. Hold that Lord, LDE, they enjoy those Lord dances, right? And a bit too much, I feel, they enjoy those Lord dances too much. But now with the Assassins coming down with the damage dealers as well, I'm very, very curious to see how the meta actually shifts again. Because so far, it seems like we're only seeing the Lings, the Rogers in the jungle as assassins. We have seen Lancelot from here, like time to time. I think Ken was able to pull off the Lancelot, but again, he lost on that. Albert tried the Hayabusa, lost on that pick as well. So I wonder if some of the assassins can actually make their way into the jungle and be super prio too. Because so far, it's just 2 picks that are really prio that you can make work as a first phase pick. That's crazy. Assassin first phase, damage dealer jungle first phase. It's something we haven't heard since what, M3 it has to be, right? That was the last time we saw the assassins really fully prio, and even the marksmen in the jungle with the Roger too. But yeah, now that there are some changes, I really hope that they maybe figure out something, maybe like a Granger to come back in the meta with the burst. The Sky Piercer should be pretty good on the Granger, right? Especially with the Death Sonata. The fact that you can have the Sky Piercer with that kind of range as well. Very interesting stuff. Jungle? Granger Jungle, I'm talking about Granger Jungle. We saw Granger Jungle, I think, a couple of times already. Not in this tournament, but, in some other tournaments, the Granger Jungle has been popping up. It's still very, very easy to pick off in the early game, very vulnerable, and I get to see why. But maybe if you can get winning lanes in mid, and XP, or mid, or gold lane, 2 winning lanes, maybe it sets up for a pretty good Granger pick.
I almost feel like we're going to see very
Ntar
well-known
muncul
player
draftnya udah di
from North
tengah-tengah.
America. Maybe
Yeah.
bring it out in one of the tournaments in the future here coming up.
MOBA
But
man.
I hope to see it because I am all for jungle becoming that kind of role again that is not just retributions, like you said. It's not just that role that stick them there, deal with the Lord, get the
Ayo dong,
retribution.
Indonesia
Because I
2-0
think
aja nggak sih? Biar cepet,
it
guys.
changes the path of the game, of
Masa gua
course,
harus-
like when the jungles can be like this,
Masa
like
gua
we
harus
just saw
polling
from
lagi?
Albert. But
Ya
so
kali,
far
ada
from
dukung
even the
Vietnam.
tankier jungles that we've seen, like the Fredrins, like the Bakshas, they actually, the pacing of the game isn't
Nah.
so different, I mean, when it is utility.
Nah,
I think
udah,
I can't
draft kan
recall
10
when the
menit.
last time we've seen really like tank for tank jungles though go to head to head. It's
Join,
usually
join,
been
join.
one utility
Gabung,
versus
gabung,
one
guys, gabung,
assassin
guys.
so
Gabung
far
kekuatan.
through ISF. So we'll see if that changes here.
Gabung
Draft though for
kekuatan.
game number 2. Indonesia going to be on that
Satukan
blue
suara.
side, so they will get that first pick. Vietnam here on the red this time around. Bans coming out. I'm wondering if Vietnam wants to ban the Ling. Like,
Yang first
they
di
ban
sini
the chip.
Indonesia ya.
That's
Tadi
kind of
kayaknya
what we used to see, I would say,
Indonesia
is teams
second.
banning
Whoa,
the chip.
Barats.
They go for the Barretts. So I wonder what the game plan is for Vietnam.
Barats.
After a game like that,
Mungkin dia pikir karena ban export ya.
and very, being very one-sided there, you've got to have an idea.
Mengapa
Number one, I
ban
would think,
Barats?
I don't want to play against Albert's Ling. We can't do that because also, Angela's banned out, so Indonesia is the one to ban it out, and we'll see if this last one is that respect ban towards the Ling. Even if it is, what do you think's open here for Indonesia in the first pick?
I think the Roger's going to be up for
Ling,
grabs. They go for the
langsung.
Ling ban, but it
It
does
is.
leave the
Respect ban.
Roger up for grabs, and it should be a pick for Indonesia. Both Albert and CW play the Roger really, really well. It's also just a really, really good flex pick. Unless they want to try the Lo Yi again, right? Maybe it didn't work out against Malaysia, but maybe it'll work out against Vietnam. I don't know. I don't know if they even want to go for the global pressure of that Lo Yi.
Buset, ada
I
yang
think
dukung
a few
Vietnam cuy.
times before the patch,
Siapa
at
itu
least, we
dukung
saw that
Vietnam?
Moscow
Wah,
was
parah.
super prio as first pick as well, but I'm not
Yeah.
too sure if Indonesia actually want to
Broken.
go for that. I think the safer choice has still got to be the Roger. That's the safest choice you can go for. Or maybe, you were already talking about how the XP is very impactful. Maybe go for something like a Terizla, but they go for the Harith, which is something that's super prio as well. I think has lost a bit of prio since the patch. It's not as crazy as it was before, but it's still a really good pick in the gold lane. You get snowball really
kalau
quick in the
di
game,
ranked itu
especially when you get level
main
4.
CSM, guys.
Once you get level
Yeah.
4, it almost seems
Benar
like,
kan?
I don't think
CSM,
any gold
Kufra tuh
laner
enggak.
is
Nah.
really able to
Ngepick apa
go
Roger?
1v1, duel
1v1,
out
yeah.
against the Herod. Maybe the Esmeralda. If we do get to see an Esmeralda,
Kan?
like we saw yesterday,
Otaknya
but it's
sama,
going to be
guys.
Fredrin and the Roger, so removing the
Esmeralda
potential
kan.
of the flex
Roger kan?
instantly, putting the Roger
Yang paling
into the
seimbang
gold
lawan
lane, up against the
Harith
Herod.
sebenarnya Roger kalau
Roger
ini.
wants to win the lane. Herod does the same thing, and I think does the same thing a bit better, at least for the early
Tapi
phase, especially
masih
after level 4.
Fredrin.
So, Vietnam, an interesting choice to go for.
Nggak sih?
When you're talking about the Harith here, it makes me think of yesterday where Al was playing that Harith, and he was able to really just kind of
Atau
keep
ambil
himself
assassin
in
aja.
the side lane, and what ended up helping them win that game and push it was the fact that you couldn't 1v1 him. Eventually, especially 30 minutes into the game, Harith just gets to a point where it's so tough to 1v1 actually from level 4, but even late game you kind of have to send at least 2 people to kind of deal with Harith, unless you're able to eat through those shields, which is, like you mentioned,
Kan,
Esmeralda
Loi.
would be
Oh.
great. Wow, Indonesia. Okay, on the
Assassin
response
lagi,
here,
boleh.
they're gonna go ahead and give their chance.
Kayaknya
at
ini
the
Albert
Loi,
udah
so
mulai
let's see
pilih
how
assassin ya.
they utilize this pick
Jadi
this
dicoba
time
lagi nih.
around, and also the Noland.
Pede assassin nggak?
Has
Pede,
so far
gas.
done pretty
Coba aja
decently.
dulu.
You
Pede
know,
aja dulu kan.
in the way
Kata
things
dia
are kind of
gitu.
shaping up, just like we saw
Loi, benar
from
nih Loi.
Tekiza yesterday, right? Tekiza
Loi
is the
kena
one that played
Fredrin,
the
enak juga
Nolan,
sih
if I
Loi.
remember right. We saw the Nolan come out with some success, and I think it was also with the combination of a Nolan and a Harith, if I remember right from yesterday. So, and then the last pick for the first phase for Vietnam, they're gonna pick up the Terizla this time around, placing that in the XP lane. So they might, I don't know, maybe just deal with the Yuzhong if it slips through, unless they ban it out. That looks like, that's Tigreal,
Romer
right? Tigreal
hati-hati
being
aja
banned
sih
out.
banyak.
All right, Tigreal ban. All right, so we're really respecting Keyboy here with the Tigreal
Tigreal.
ban, but we haven't really seen Tigreal come out a lot here. I guess anticipating maybe the way that you could use the Tigreal with the Lo Yi to find those creative angles, with the flanks. I guess I could definitely see that as well, but maybe for Indonesia, they might be going for just a standard Grok as well. I think that would still work out. It's a good Terima pick, by the way, for Vietnam, right? The fact that they picked it up, it's a good deny away from Indonesia because they really need someone tanky in the XP lane now that they have technically 3 damage dealers in their composition. Novaria ban to try to deny that scouting potential of that Astral Echo, especially when you want to use the Luo Yi to get these angles, to get these flanks. You want to take away that Novaria because I think for the Novaria, every single ability, could be used to actually scout out. Put the Astral Meteor down, you get vision of the bush. You can throw out the Astral Recall, second part of it, the Astral Sphere, and you can get vision across and Astral Echo as well. The Grok will be banned out. I was expecting the Grok for Indonesia, and it's a good read by Vietnam to take that pick up because it feels like with the Fredrin even, right? It doesn't really matter if the Fredrin is better at contesting these neutral objectives than any of the assassins that's picked up by Indonesia if there's a Grok in the hands of Indonesia. Then they'll be able to just utilize that wild charge CC around the walls, get that CC down in the Fredrin, and it basically becomes a full 100-0. No 50-50 at all for the Retribution. Full easy retry for whoever the jungle is, and it's gonna be the Valentina ban. So again, also respecting the fact that maybe they want to be going for these big ults. I think the Minotaur might show up now because the Valentina, as of right now, the 3 picks that we have for Indonesia, there's no real pick that actually warrants, the Valentina ban. Maybe the diversion, but even then, we don't see a lot of Valentinas go for the diversion anyway. So maybe they're just going for some big ults in the second phase. Maybe an Arlet and a Minotaur. I think both those could work.
Yeah.
Semangat guys, semangat.
I was trying to think here too for Indonesia. Maybe the Kaja or Edith Rome also. I'm not sure, but Kaja. Like this is if it is Kaja, they could be just a complete pick off. Kind of pick off esque lineup. I know we already shared our thoughts about Kaja with a Luo Yi though. And so it might be, might not be something they want to do, but if it is locked in, then we get to see Indonesia try that combination this time around. Another thing I could think of is, of course, the Edith Rome that has popped up a couple times. And again, it really, like, they're so overloaded on magic damage right now. We saw what kind of happens to teams that do this before. So I think, you just have to take that into consideration. So it looks like the Arlot is going to be picked up. That's also a good source of physical damage, but it's mostly that final slash that you can use. And, if you're just trying to sweep them into the Zombie Force, that might be a game plan already. Wow.
Arlot udah pasti sih kalau nggak
Guinevere is going to get picked up here.
Kibo juga bisa make, jadi enak.
He's going in the XP lane to
Ruby juga bisa kemarin Lutfi pakai Ruby soalnya.
Could go XP lane as well. Who does better against the Terizla here, do you think?
I think the Arlet definitely needs to go to XP, right? The Guinevere XP, though it can work, I'm more a fan of the Guinevere as Rome compared to XP, but that's going to be the Phobius as well. And that's a great pick by Vietnam. So many dashes from Indonesia. Every single one of them can actually dash, except for the Luo Yi. So incredible value here as the last pick comes into the XP lane. And, oh wow, I'm really impressed with the Phobius pick. We don't get to see Phobius a whole lot, and we finally get to see him here. We usually see him even in the mid lane, and I think that's what they're gonna do. The Phobius will be in the mid lane for Fugo, not on the XP. It's gonna be Hehe still.
Gwyn itu kalau di rank soalnya susah banget guys kalau gua ya.
Alright.
Gua mikirnya Gwyn itu rumor susah banget.
Nice. Do you think the Phobius is better as an XP laner or a mid laner?
I think for this mid lane, because you want to be rotating wherever the Nolan is. And so you want to be able to, you want to be able to join those fights, those early skirmishes, and possibly once you have that demonic force available, play around that. So I don't know. It's tough to say, but I think this is better. It does fit with this lineup, and mid lane is the way to go here. I think before. Actually, no. Even with thinking some of the major teams, I think it just depends on what the lineup is going to be. He works great in XP and mid. So with that, let's find out exactly how it's going to be executed in this land of dawn. Game number 2 here. It's match point for Indonesia. Looking out to close out the series against Vietnam. And again, remember, they are tied for points. Hold on. It looks like, I'm not sure if that's going to result in anything, but they were pretty low there as they got to the lanes here. As we take a look at the junglers getting set up. Albert already rotating in, gets that level 2, and you can see it, right? Again, Vietnam needs to even out the series here, get to a game 3, because they're tied in the standings. You guys, real quick, can also check out the standings on IESF.gg to stay updated with everything happening. Now, as we take a look, even at the emblems here, nothing crazy that sticks out except for Fugo. He's got the war cry on Olympia. So this is going to be the first time that we actually see this. First time in for a pick for Phoveus in general, but then the Warcry emblem on top of the Phoveus pick. I'm wondering how this is going to work out. An extra 8% damage for a Phoveus, especially when he has Demonic Force, I feel like that could be kind of scary. Could be tough to deal with. Plus the fact that Yandere has it as well. This is, not so new. We have seen Ronders play with this emblem now at this point, and it works out. So it's a lot of extra damage they could play around here.
For sure. And the fact that they're going to go for the Warcry means that they want to go for the prolonged fight. They want to try to out-sustain Indonesia. In these skirmishes, Albert jumping in forward, not able to get the fracture down, so he's going to hold off onto that Keyboy, just relieving some of the pressure that Yandere has been able to put down onto CW in this gold lane, and will be able to help CW to shove this. But so far, Vietnam in the early game, doing a pretty good job. I think as long as Fugo is able to clear up and get to level 4 before the turtle, this is going to be a very, very good early fight for Vietnam.
Please stop mabar tamahin semalam aneh banget
What is the
cok.
build path of this Phoveus
Betul,
in the
makasih
mid?
bang, makasih bang. Sabar, gua baca dulu.
With things changing,
Kaget gue, Cok.
he can do quite a bit of damage with the current item, so they do get a
Mandi
flicker
bang,
out
gue
from
liat
loot
baju
piece
lu
all
nggak
before
ganti
this
dari kemarin.
first turtle, this
BTW,
first
please
objective
stop
take
mabar
does come
sama
up,
Yin
but they
semua
do
halaman
get these
banget,
level 4s
Cok.
that are crucial for the fight.
Gue
So even
ganti
with the
baju
flicker
guys ya.
down,
Mana ada
Loopy
sama,
might
coba
still
lihat.
just try to get a play. It
Coba
looks
lihat
like Keyboy's
live
trying to get
kemarin,
that level
nggak
4 as
sama,
well,
guys.
so that he can contribute to this fight.
Beda
But right
aman.
now,
Gue ini baru mandi, Cok, baru pulang dari kuliah gue.
Looks like he's going to be fine, but now fighting for the turtle.
Mandi.
Yeah, Lippy has the final slash, can
YouTube.
go for it, jumps in with
Lah,
the Vengeance
udah
as well,
main.
and that's going to be the penalty to
Udah
lock
main,
Albert
Indo.
down, but good final slash comboed in with the Retribution. Now
Makasih,
that's
bang,
the
makasih,
spatial
bang.
migration
Abdul
and the Violet Requiem locked down together to give Albert some space to go for the fracture
Murah
and
rezeki
pick
ya,
up a
bang, ya.
double kill on top of the turtle.
Loyi,
Hey,
loyi,
I was going to say, I thought Yandere did survive. And I was going to say, good job surviving against CW using the Zaman Force under the
Mati
turret.
lagi McLaren
Eventually
lu,
goes
warna
down.
apa bos?
Zhao gone too.
Good fracture too, and now Albert will be able to use the dash, but now is going to try to bait Fugo into the turret. I'm not sure if Fugo wants to take this, and he does. But the Demonic Force gets pulled way, way too far away from his turret. He's forced to use the Purify. Now, it might be the re-engage from Albert, catching Fugo, overextending. And Fugo has lost the entire minion wave on top of that, right? He's going to be so behind and go.
Lah.
Forced to use the Purify. Now, it might be the re-engage from Albert, catching Fugo, overextending.
Ya
And Fugo has lost the entire minion wave on top of that, right? He's going to be so behind in gold.
I'm not sure, like, if he was just like,
biar
oops, if that was an oops because he goes too
like
far,
multiple
I would've
oopses.
stopped. Yeah, I would have stopped 2 before he even got
Mana
there.
ya?
But, it's unfortunate because
gua
even
aja
looking
udah
at the
lupa
gold, he's
siapa
already
ya?
fallen
Siapa tuh
quite
yang pakai
behind
Yin ya?
Sands. 600-700 gold already, and this is a
Kayaknya
5-0 lead now
ke
for
YouTube
Indonesia,
gua,
very
cuman
similar to
gua
what
nggak
we
tahu
saw in
siapa,
the
katanya
previous
adik
games of
yang
Vietnam,
adik si itu.
struggling, and look at
Kayaknya dia
this,
sih.
invading that purple buff.
Dulu padahal
Razor's
kayaknya
Wrath and
jago
Retribution
aja.
combo together. Violet Requiem, though. My goodness, Nart gonna be knocked up straight into the
Lihat
fracture
Fugo asal
and the
lompat doang ya,
dispersion.
Fugo
That's gonna be Lupiu because it's gonna be combat. A diversion gets placed down, and Sans will be able to escape. Keyboy next to the
Lompat.
chopping blocks. They go for the chase. A demonic force as
lompat lagi,
well.
boy.
The Keyboy will be able to enter again onto the spatial migration, getting Joe knocked
cewek,
out.
ada cewek.
CW
Tarik
rotating
lagi.
back
Albert,
again as
maju,
Joe
Albert.
goes over the top, but CW has rotated, goes over to Synchro Fission, and it's gonna be Hehe completely isolated, alone. The
Rido
other members
semalam.
went back.
Iya, Rido,
and Terisla will be
kayaknya
taken
pernah mampir
out
di YouTube,
7-1 as Joe is
Nggak
still
tahu
looking
gua.
for an aggressive maneuver here into the enemy jungle. Has a retribution as well, but it seems Albert will still be able to pick it up for himself. That 2-level lead coming in handy for the retry battle.
I'm so, it's hold on, it's mid lane. I don't think Nart.
Again,
Beda sih
the
mainnya,
Vengeance
beda
resets
sama
with the
yang
dispersion, the
kemarin
final
kayaknya.
slash. Nart gonna be
Beda level
displaced and
gitu loh.
taken out by the Vengeance, and now
Kasihan
Joe
Arya.
can't even go and utilize that retry advantage that he got from the purple buff invade. Albert's just gonna pick it up for free, no retry needed, and
Kita
they're gonna
coba,
plow
guys, ya.
through the next
Biar naik
engage
legend
here
dulu
onto
lah,
the
aduh.
enemy
Mau
jungle.
naik legend aja
Fugo
susah gua soalnya.
caught but has the Purify, and it seems for Indonesia they have a 5,000 gold lead already. The diversion is going to be used down to the bottom lanes. Go for a flank, and that's going to be the sandwich. Albert picking up the kill together with the rest of the team as Lutpi is even winning up against the Terisla now in the lane.
Yeah, this is very punishing with what Indonesia is doing to Vietnam, not giving them a chance to breathe. Even earlier, it looked good for Vietnam when they were starting to fight back and they caught a couple, but then
kayak play ranked, Cok.
hold on, Nart again. Oh my goodness.
Lompat aja udah.
Bye-bye.
From Albert
Nggak peduli
is
kayaknya
just
dia.
too much. He's 7-0-1.
Lompat lihat.
Final slash synchro vision right into the stacks. Albert, what
Rata sih,
triple
rata sih.
kill?
Kalau
And now
udah
he's gonna
maju
go for
rata
more.
ini.
The Maniac waiting for him, and that's gonna be the spatial
Dor.
migration to knock him up.
Cari
To
Kasih,
get the
Roger.
Maniac over to Albert on a silver
Dicari,
platter.
dicari,
The
Cok.
diversion into the bottom lane.
Ya,
Perhaps a
ya,
hunt
nggak
for the
sempet.
Savage. They don't know where Yandere is.
Nggak
And he
sempet, nggak
will be
sempet.
able to recall in time, denying that Savage.
Dapat,
But man,
atas dapat.
Indonesia,
Mid atas dapat.
6 minutes in
Dapat atas juga.
13-1. Complete dominance.
Mid dapat, atas
Complete
dapat.
dominance. Look at the damage that Albert is doing on this Nolan.
Bawah nggak
31,000
dapat.
damage mid lane.
Buset,
Nart
Dinar.
again, not having a good time, not even given the chance to use the Primal Wrath. The CW jumps in forward,
lihat,
doesn't have
lihat.
Purify now, will be able to get locked down by the penalty zone, but that's going to be the Demonic Force munching onto Keyboy's HP bar, as that will be
Lihat Fugo,
Keyboy
lihat
falling
Fugo,
down,
lihat
Lippy
Fugo.
with Vengeance, now with the stun as well, trying to
Lihat
bait out
Fugo,
some of the
guys,
Demonic
mantap ke
Forces, and
Fugo,
he's
guys.
going to get the Purify, but will not be able to survive in that
Santai
skirmish.
dulu gak sih,
Albert just
lompat-lompat.
comes in, takes him
Ini
down,
Loi
and wants to
harus
go
jadi
for more.
prioritas line.
You gotta
Kalau
respect
Indo
this
lepas Loi
fracture
kayak kemarin
again,
lawan Malai,
Albert
iya.
Takes the
Cuman kan
double,
kebukti
punishes and over.
match pertama Indo pakai
Stay
Loi kalah.
My
Match kedua
God,
Malai
heck,
pakai Loi
Canards
menang.
all having a hard time here
Apakah
against
ditutor?
Albert, 12-0-1.
Ditutor kah?
We saw the 31,000
Goat.
damage earlier. I'm wondering what he's at now. It's
Cuman
gotta
beda,
be
guys. Jujur,
40,000 plus
main
because
si
my God,
Vietnam
we
ini
thought the
sama
Ling was good.
Malai kemarin.
Look at the Nolan. Look at the
Jagoan
moves,
Malai
right?
sih,
And
emang.
for Vietnam, it's
Mekanik,
this is
komunikasi
tough.
mungkin
This is
jalan
more
juga.
than a tough. This is dire.
Kalau
We're
gua lihat ya
7
dari
minutes
mainnya
in. They're 10,000 gold behind, and that's a turtle. You're not going to see any of
Jelas
your
lah dia
buffs.
mau
You're not
ngapain.
going to see any
Jelas gitu.
side of your
Kayak ini
jungle.
agak-
Even with
agak
this lineup. Oh,
mana ya?
again.
Oh, I can't even say it was a spatial
Can't even say
migration. He just disappeared. Nart 0-6
Kalau
and
Malai kayaknya
the
kemarin
Edith.
satu di
It's supposed to
satu
be a sustainable pick, you know. It's supposed to be a pick that can allow you to re-engage, but
nyari yang
I guess when you
lain
get bursted
gitu.
down like that and the
Jadi
diversion gets
mirip-mirip,
placed
guys.
up top, Yandere.
Skornya.
Oh no, you gotta start running, buddy. Albert is coming down now. He has the passive and the basic attack, and he won't even utilize.
Kenapa agak-
Did he use the,
agak
get the
ngeframe-ngeframe
fracture?
ya?
I don't even know if he got the fracture there. Is it on that short of a cooldown?
Ini kenapa ngeframe
On that short of a cooldown?
Sama
I think
aja sih.
so. Look at the
Yikes.
items. He's also got the Sky Piercer. He's got the Hunter Strike.
No
He's got
wonder.
the Malefic Roar, man. It's
man.
just you're seeing even the tankiest
Cuman kalau
members
PC
of
gua nggak
Vietnam
ngeframe
just
sih,
get
emang
deleted
YouTube-nya kayaknya.
in an
Albert.
instance. And now the Sea Halbert to go ahead and take care of some of the sustainability.
Apa aman?
Not even sure if that Sea Halbert
Udah
was
berapa
needed or if
skornya,
it's
Bang?
overkill, but they'll get these tier 2
1-0 itu
turrets
di atas tuh,
down.
1-0.
Indonesia is just waiting for the Lord. They're still a whole minute away from it spawning, so they're going to go and get these shields. I'm not sure if they
2-0
actually
aja nggak
continue
sih?
to
2-0 aja,
force a
bos.
fight possibly against Vietnam, but right now Vietnam doesn't have much that
Ini
they can
Onik-
do other
Onik
than just
mainnya
watch their base
atau Indonesia ya,
start
gua
to
ngomong
crumble
Indonesia ini
here.
mainnya
And it looks
improve
like
dikit,
you have to keep an eye on Keyboy.
Nah,
Start into the oh my
itu baru
god, the
namanya
final
komunikasi,
slash
guys.
into the Violet
Lutfi
Requiem.
geser,
Well
langsung Keyboy
played,
ulti.
Indonesia. Lutfi and
Kan gua bilang
Keyboy.
kan, bisa
Looking at
di-combo
synergy
emang.
together. Penalty zone, locking Keyboy and Sans there, but he has to
Where's
purify.
Albert?
Yandere just gets bursted down, I think, by Albert on the
Satu,
fracture.
siap.
And now again, it's
1-0,
isolated all alone with the rest of the
main-
members
main
having to flee
Indo
from
ini
the fracture.
meningkat
CW
dikit,
dashing
meningkat
forward,
dikit.
still has his on force as well. It's gonna be Lutfi with the
pas.
final slash again, connecting on a 2, forcing the purify out as Nart finally
Di,
gets the
nice
primal
PW.
wrath, but not for long. It's just to survive
Meningkat
for
dikit.
one last,
Walaupun dikit
bit
nggak
of
apa-apa.
damage from CW to take him down.
Satunya siapa? Itu
Yandere,
Indonesia, guys.
Joe,
Lihat-
and
lihat di
Fugo
atas
on
tuh,
the
ada
defense.
merah-merah di
Albert level
samping.
15, jumping
Match
in
2 per
fracture.
3.
Oh my goodness! Fugo disappearing again. The
Beda sih,
assassin
lawannya
is
kualitasnya
assassinating
emang beda,
anyone in
guys.
that Ricky boy with a spatial migration. Get the Violet Requiem too, and that's the combo together with the dispersion.
GG, Indonesia,
gonna get
selamat,
things done before the
2-0.
10th minute of the game.
2-0 kemarin dibalas 2-0 sekarang.
Holy moly. Is all
Beda
I can
sih.
say from seeing that
Beda,
game.
satu kata, guys.
24-2,
Beda
a
cocorangannya.
massive game
SRG lebih,
for
lebih
Indonesia.
jelas objektifnya
I
mau
don't know
ngapain
what
gitu.
happened yesterday. I feel
Mau
like
perangin orang atau
they felt a
ngapain,
certain
ini
way and they
rada-rada gak jelas,
came
Cok.
here.
Satu
And
maju,
Vietnam had to
ditinggal.
deal with that.
Kalau Malai
just
satu
built
di
up
inisiasi
power
temannya,
from
yang lain
Indonesia, man. I don't know.
ngincar
Every
belakangnya juga, guys.
single
Jadi,
lane, it looked like they were just on
sama-sama
point.
pusing sebenarnya.
Albert,
Kalau ini
I don't even know what the heck his
temannya
KDA was for this
di
series
inisiasi,
alone.
ya udahlah, kasih aja lah
he
satu.
was- This game
Put
I think
those
was
stats
like
up, man.
lawan
Get those
Big
stats
Bang
up, right?
Iya sih, bener sih.
0-1. Earlier he was
Bang,
what,
coba lihat yang kemarin
12-0-1
si
or
Mesir
something
lawan
like that.
apa
13-0, I
ratingnya?
think, game 1, right?
2 MM-nya
My
Mia.
goodness.
Emang iya ya?
What do you even break down from that point? And now,
Emang iya yang
you know,
Mesir?
we're gonna have to take a look here at the highlights, of course, because This is just going to be a
Retri
highlight
2
reel
MME.
that we're going to see from Indonesia, just like in the first game that they had, man. Vietnam
menang, kah?
never really had
Gua
the
nggak nonton
opportunity to find a breather here. Like from the start, I mean, look at this.
Coba.
And it was such a good combination.
Coba IESF dulu ya. Harusnya ada kan di sini kan? Yang mana? Ini. Iklan dulu
Serunya
guys.
hidup itu kayak roller coaster.
Belum ketemu
Tapi
Yinnya,
gula
Rido.
darah jangan naik turun.
Iya sih. Ini bukannya kamu
And flank to come through with Dragon Form like we saw previously. Meanwhile, Ra is just assaulting, sieging from the back line. And that's why Myanmar has to be so careful with this lineup that they're facing against. And they have to plant pretty much Ruby DD here to keep the Lord at bay. Lucas doesn't really have to do anything. It's Myanmar that wants to put the pressure around this Lord. It would have been great to get a chance to ask him, like...
Coba.
Trying to and set up a dive or a play, and as a result, they get flanked, they got caught out, and
so those are the lineups here for both our teams, of course. Oh, the Angel Lane, gold lane, would they?
I think the Esmeralda maybe could actually be placed into the gold lane, maybe to go up against the Harith, right? If you really want to go for the bully all the way from the start, technically it could.
To Jordan.
Locked in from Al, and those two will pretty much just be a dead lane for now, you know. But you'll see it. Bahrain's doing a good job at just fighting when it's honestly sometimes it's Jordan starting the fights here. But this time around, you can see some of the first items also being locked in. Good farming happening from Falcon. As the game gets further on, you have to wonder who has the better damage scaling in their favor. You know, because at some point it's also just
go for something different, and then later, it's out of control. You can always just use the divine judgment and
aman.
Ended up getting the turret as well. So Bahrain finds just the team from Bahrain deciding on.
Kenapa ada Forsaken di sini, Cok? Bukan main Valorant, malah main Mobile Legends dia.
Bahrain. It's the target ban, so it is for you, okay? Because we over here in our.
Yang D1.
If this
udah, sabar ya.
Is to be the end.
Iya, dua retri.
And what it includes. In the national qualifiers, athletes within each of the participants
and the Clint. So Clint, also talking about that earlier.
Nggak ada.
Who survives, gets it as well, and has sword to escape, and Kanoa will be forced back. Meanwhile, here, right?
Number 2, Uzbekistan versus Kazakhstan.
Nggak ada.
As we already saw, she was making plays with this Lolita.
A nerf
cari.
Boyi. It's still gonna be the Terizla though, picked up by Hinata.
Bukan
First
Philippine
phase
kayaknya
pickup. And I wonder what else they're gonna pick up here. Because the Brody was banned out so early in the...
I think that's part of it. You know, just having black shoes alone.
Nggak ada.
Still, look how much gold.
This will actually give them a lot of time.
He is going to
the 3. And I think personally I like this. That's why I thought the Yuzong would actually be banned out.
Nggak ada.
The Yuzong pick is still really, really good. It's just the way that you play it needs to be a bit different up against a lane bully. It isn't the same matchup against the Esmeralda, right? And maybe the change of skin from Lika Tizi means that she will also change her playstyle a bit.
It's a new page, basically, right? You know, you can go with it that way. But I think it's just the concept of literally. I feel like.
Will definitely have more mid control, more mid prio over the Novaria and the Rafaela, especially in the early game, right? Later on, maybe it'll be different, but early game, neutral objective contest, it's going to be really, really tough. I think in the lane, she's actually a bit safer. Never mind, you know? This matchup is great for the Ixia. She outranges the Moskov, can out-sustain the Moskov, so even if she goes all in, it's going to be a win.
So far, nothing, no one going down just yet. Everybody getting those level 4s online. I think that
kagak ada, Cok.
Right now, and
it's a little toxic, Chip is still neat.
Criteria, you know, they need a little bit of utility to play with. They already have an initiator on the turret.
Ini Egypt kah? Oh ini. Mana tapi?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys. A
Luar.
lot of Clint's being
Loh, Alukar.
resurfaced in the gold lane. A lot
Loh.
of things to say with the burst damage, the
Loh,
base
Cok.
damage from the Clint to really
Woi,
control
apa ini pertandingan dari
that
sistem,
lane,
kah?
gold lane. As
Buset,
like you
4
mentioned
orang, Cok.
actually yesterday, right? A good lane bully for that gold lane
Loh.
has been taken off the board. But it looks like
Loh.
a Matilda as
4
well as a
orang,
Minotaur
bro.
has been picked up. So
Kayak
wait
mana
a
caranya
second,
4
who's
orang
going
loh?
where? We have Kagura, Chip, Diggy,
Buset, drug system.
Matilda, and a maybe.
Oh,
South
udah
Africa,
ulang dia.
Damage straight up. Namibia with a big win here in the
Buset,
second minute of the
Hanabi, Cuk.
game. A big turtle too.
That's a 2-for-0 trade, right? And an
Bindra.
objective, so you can even
Mesir
say
lawan-
that it was a 3-for-0 trade in favor of Namibia
Ini
early
Egypt
on.
nih.
And that
Bukan deh. Sabar. Demi
in their kit,
dua
right? They have
retri nih.
Love Witch on the Aurora with the stuns coming through. This was already really great, but as soon as
ini
this
Mesir, ini
implosion
Mesir.
came through, not a lot of
Dor.
Purifies have been the
Loh.
bane of some of these teams.
Kagak ada, Cok.
Surprisingly, but yeah, you'll get poked out. You'll obviously still lose out on the trade eventually, but the fact that she was able to get in that much damage was already very impressive. But also, the mid lane, Electa, setting up for a possible pick-off here. And she does clear way faster compared to the Esmeralda, but
In here, we saw the Amon wreak havoc in the men's games, so we'll see if that can be replicated here by Lore.
wow, I haven't seen an Amon.
Especially late game is
Kagak
scary.
ada, bro.
For sure, but how would you compare the Natan to a Sicilian in the late game, right?
Oh.
Unlimited.
Gue cari satu-satu. Lah. Bukan ini, bro. Loh. Ini mah Counter Strike ini, Cok. Mobile Legend. Scar. Mobile Legend. Ini. Bukan. Ini. Terakhir nih. Nggak ada.
Right from SRG, the champions of MPL Malaysia also. Yeah, that's why they so strong now.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams, a lot of regions and nations that are getting a lot better. Albert, last question. Is there a team you're looking forward to facing off? Is it like a rematch against Malaysia eventually that you're after?
Rematch.
Yeah, I think I want to fight against Malaysia again because
Sip.
I hope we can get
Next,
our revenge
Kasih.
to Malaysian team.
Awesome.
There you go.
Great. Albert, thank you so much. Congratulations again on the very dominant
Thank
sweep
you, Albert.
and best of luck to you guys.
Yang lain nggak bisa
in
bahasa
the
Inggris,
rest of
Cok,
the
kayaknya.
games. Take care.
Buset dah.
Thank you.
Good luck,
Cewek
bro.
doang kali.
Bye.
There we go,
there
man.
you go, man.
So,
Yeah.
Udah.
you know, that's
Cepet
from
banget.
Albert
Gua
himself,
baru
of course. You know,
50 menit,
his thoughts
54
also
menit, baru mau sejam. Bang,
on
nama YouTube yang
Vietnam, and
Levi
they want
siapa?
the rematch against Malaysia.
As expected, you know, for
Levi.
Indonesia, I think at this point, if they suffer any losses, they want to
Levi
get that
apaan,
vengeance, right?
Levi?
They want to avenge their loss later on. And so far, I think with how the group is shaping up, they
Apa,
are
Levi,
going to
guys?
be coming out second in this group, unless later on, maybe Malaysia loses to another team. But no, it actually has been confirmed. If you guys want to check it out yourself, IESF.gg. Again, Malaysia now are 3-0. They have won every single game, every single match possible in their groups. And it doesn't seem like, they didn't drop a single game. This is another invincible run for that roster. We know, throughout the season, I think for SRG, that team in particular, they've been going on an invincible run. And even here in IESF, they're continuing that invincible run. Very impressive stuff. But, nice.
Votingnya 8 suara.
I was for a second there thinking, okay, is he going to ask for a translation, right? Because a lot of times when we get Indonesian players and I'm here, they'll always just be like, all right, you know what, Mirko's here anyways. Can you just speak Indo to me, just translate some of these questions and translate my answer? But, dude, Albert saying, Malaysia improved a lot. I'll say you've improved a lot as well. His English got way better, man. Maybe he's just been, practicing with Yeb and Kyrie and the team, right?
Bahasa Inggris kayaknya.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was surprised because I was expecting, I've seen it before. But props to Albert, of course. The English was great. And,
shout out to Albert.
Udah kita di sini cuma
shout out to Albert, just as good as the game.
Maybe he can join us later on the desk.
Itu kita bubar dulu.
Maybe he could, man. Maybe he could be a guest for us. Very, very good game. And like you mentioned, they locked in their slots for the playoffs. So, but Indonesia is gonna play against number 1 from Group A, and then Malaysia will play from number 2 from Group A. So it looks like that's going to be the bracketing eventually here. But we'll look at the next matchup that will be on stream, because our next matchup is going to be Cambodia versus Thailand. This one is also, I believe, a pretty important match for both of these teams. I'm going to go ahead and look up here real quick. How are their points looking for both of them? So I know, Thailand is second currently in Group A, and Cambodia is number 3. So very important game for both of them. As long as this is updated, I think either of these will also get them that number 2 slot from Group A that they need. So very crucial match between these two. And Mirko, I know we've already gotten to watch Cambodia play, but on stream we have not been able to see Thailand, I believe. And I remember seeing the comments yesterday on some people asking like, what about Thailand, like the team from Thailand. So I think there's going to be a lot to kind of like uncover as those two kind of battle it out. But are you thinking Cambodia has this? Because we are somewhat familiar with Cambodia.
Me personally, my prediction has got to be Cambodia. They should be able to take this, right? They were really close to Myanmar. I think those two are really going to be the real contenders coming in from this group. But Thailand, they're looking undefeated as well. At this point, they're 2-0, 4-0 in games. So based on the group up against Brunei and Timor-Leste, let's hope that Thailand can actually come in with a curveball, maybe get some big wins here, maybe take a game off of Cambodia, because that'll be very, very interesting to see another nation, another region climbing up rapidly as well, because that's what we saw from Cambodia and technically from Myanmar as well. There's that one time where they just boost up in skill and they're able to just tell the world that, we're here to compete, we're here to be contenders.
Bye-bye.
Yep, I can't wait to